So what is a hard gainer and how do we know what they look like? Well, firstly, a hard gainer is somebody generally with very bad bodybuilding genetics, somebody who might have very long limbs, very poor muscle insertions and a fast metabolism. To put it simply, an ectomorph, a bit like myself, I'm very tall, I have the long limbs, and I also have the very narrow clavicles. The things that I struggle with as a hard gainer is generally putting on weight. I also struggle with my strength and filling out these long arms with muscle naturally. The benefits to maybe being a bit of a hard gainer or having a longer frame is that whenever I do fill out, if I ever do fill out, is that I will generally be bigger than my shorter counterparts. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm more aesthetic. So I'm going to show you a picture of Chris Bumstead, okay, with those super wide shoulders, with that very narrow waist and a great V-taper. He is somebody who genetically is very, very good. I am somebody who is probably average at best, probably less than that, willing to accept that. Okay, so being a hard gainer, the things that I've also struggled with, as I said, my strength, I'm not very athletically performing well. I cannot bench as much as my friends who maybe have those shorter limbs. Being a hard gainer, it also takes an extremely long time for me to grow muscle in terms of filling out and noticing a difference. As I said, I'm 6'4", I'm very tall. It takes a lot of work to fill out this frame. Guys, being a hard gainer does not mean that you can't build an aesthetic physique, as I am relatively happy with my progress and I generally hear that I have a good physique on a day-to-day basis. But being a hard gainer generally does mean you have to come to accept that you might not compete as a professional bodybuilder. Some people have, for example, Frank Zane or a few other bodybuilders I might post here. Guys, being a hard gainer doesn't mean you're tall. You can have a short ectomorphic physique. Is this necessarily better? Well, I think so, because being a shorter hard gainer or being a shorter ectomorph more specifically means that you can fill out the ectomorphic frame for more definition and more mass in general. So guys, if you're about 6 foot, you have that long, thin frame, small clavicles, you can really define your physique and look quite aesthetic and still have the benefits of being quite lean regularly because you have that fast metabolism and still generally be in great shape. That doesn't mean that you aren't going to be massive. It doesn't mean that you need to worry about not being the biggest guy in the room, because if you're looking for aesthetics, you're probably pretty close to really being there. So guys, being a hard gainer, how do we train for that? Well, firstly, I'm going to tell you this one thing. I don't do as many compounds. I don't have the energy. So my body at 6'4" tall does not have enough glycogen storage to fuel a workout of 2 to 3 to 4 hours. I don't think anybody can work out that long, but generally, our blood sugars will drop a lot faster. We will burn more calories. We have this big body. We're lunking it around in the gym, okay? We're doing more reps, more movement essentially with these long arms, so you're burning more calories, you don't have the energy reserve. Secondly, guys, we are watching our isolation movements using time under tension, okay, nice slow reps, range of motion, ROM, all the way down, stretching it, contracting it, nice and slow. You have these long limbs, use them to your advantage. Guys, a lot of people think because you're not as strong that you aren't going to grow, as fast. Guys, that is just not true. Have these long limbs, we can keep the tension on them more. If you are an ectomorph and you are partialing your reps, I'm sorry to say, you're kind of wasting your time. The foundations of bodybuilding is stretching and contracting under weight. We need to make sure that we're actively managing our carbohydrates and actively managing our sugars. If you've ever heard the saying that tall people have a greater chance of being diabetic, well, that's true. Basically, being insulin resistant as an ectomorph, being very tall is a nightmare. You aren't actually able to refuel your body. So just to go back and basically summarize it is, we aren't eating much sugar. We need to absorb carbohydrates properly to maximize the energy we get from carbohydrates. That is what you need to do as a hard gainer, tall or not, okay? Ideally, a hard gainer's diet is still high carbohydrates, okay? Low sugars. Carbohydrates are sugars, but low complex sugars, okay? You're not eating chocolate, okay? Believe me, you don't want to be doing that, okay? More protein and still sticking to that low fat-ish diet, okay? Even if you have that fast metabolism, even if you struggle to put on that weight, you need to be watching what you're eating. So guys, now we know what a hard gainer looks like. Now we know how to train for a hard gainer, and now we know how to eat to be a hard gainer. Guys, if you think you're a hard gainer, if you struggle with lifting, you can send me a message, you can comment something, and I will try and help you out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and share, and let me know if there is any more content that you'd like to see.